I've been collecting a number of years. Like many other prop collectors, I've spent a great deal of time researching, looking for things, tracking down leads, etc., etc. This is definitely my favorite find. So this is Mark Hamill's lightsaber from Return of the Jedi. This is the hero piece that was used in most of the shots in the film. This is the belt saber, so you know, it's the one that would have been worn as a costume piece on his belt. It's the one that will be handled when the blade is not ignited. When they're actually fighting, it's a different prop that has a blade attached. This piece was also used by Alec Guinness in the first film as a fighting lightsaber. So it originally had a motor inside of it, and some of you may have heard the story of how they were trying to do the lightsaber blade as a practical effect on the first film. The motor would rotate the blade, which was coated on a few of the sides in a reflective Scotch-like material, and the idea was that this thing would flash and glow. It didn't really work out as well as they wanted it to, so they wound up doing a rotoscope effect over top of it. But this is the actual piece that Alec Guinness used. When we took it apart, which I did after I got it, of course, you could see where the motor was mounted inside. The motor's not in there anymore, but you could see where it was mounted, and you can tell how the system worked. You know, and so it's a twofer.
I think that's like a five-fer.
And you know, the reason that it was used again in Return of the Jedi is I think just a practical one. You know, as I understand it, when they started Jedi, they weren't necessarily aware. Maybe no one had thought about as well as his hand at the end of The Empire Strikes Back. So he really shouldn't have the exact same lightsaber again. I think there's actually photos that exist from the first day of filming on Jedi where Mark Hamill was holding the Graflex saber from Empire. So I'm sure they very quickly realized, hey, we need another lightsaber here. Went back to the prop department, and you know, they had this one there, and there it is. You know, there you go. And that sort of gives you an idea of how these films were made in some regard. You know, it was really just put together out of whatever was on hand. Haphazardly, yes indeed. So the piece itself it's machined aluminum. It's in several different components. It has a Graflex camera clamp on it, which you're seeing with the circuit board in there. Here's a few other photos. The entire end of it, the emitter end, if you like, rotates. So when the blade spun, the end of the emitter there was spinning as well. And the reason that I'm able to tell that it is Alec Guinness's lightsaber is that the clamp is missing a box. This is going to be difficult to articulate, but basically there should be a small box in the groove of that clamp there, which is present on the other side, and it's what the Graflex lever would thread into to allow it to close. This Graflex clamp is missing the sort of notable attributes about this piece, and I don't know if you guys can tell, but you're basically looking at a rectangular nut there that the fastener that the clamp is threading into it, and you can see it in the screen capture from A New Hope as well. You can see it between Alec Guinness's fingers there. And that's a really unique tell. You know, these guys have talked about screen matching. We're always looking for a little bit of evidence on a prop or a costume that allows you to tie it to a screen capture or a photograph and say without question, this is this piece. You know, provenance, and all these things play into authenticating a piece, but there's nothing like being able to match it to the screen and say definitively, yes, this is the same exact artifact. There you see it when it was the Obi-Wan lightsaber in the first film. Switch towards the bottom, which is the toggle power switch to turn the motor on and off. Here you see it was basically a round on Empire, you know, probably being used as a practice lightsaber, a sort of training. Threefer, there we go. Not on screen in Empire, but it was certainly around. Here's a few photos that just show it most of Return of the Jedi. There was another lightsaber that was made later in production by ILM that was used for a couple of the close-ups. There are a few close-ups, like when Vader's handling the lightsaber after he takes it away from Luke, which is a different prop, a prop that was likely made by ILM. It's a little bit of a cleaner version of the same thing. That piece still resides in the archive collection today. But this is the lightsaber when it was on the Emperor's throne, and you can match up the scratches in the paint, or the pattern in the paint at the end of the emitter there. You can see the same thing here if you look at the photograph, and that oversized lever on the Graflex clamp I was talking about. It is this exact prop in this photo. Here it is again being used in here it is when the Emperor. This is when Luke has just taken it off the throne. His belt being used as a I know sometimes some of the replica companies have made versions of this in the past, and it's referred to as the V2, the version 2, in reference to that other one that is sometimes considered the hero that is seen in the insert close-up shot. But this one is the one that has the most screen time in the film, so I consider it the hero, but I'm a little bit biased.
Yeah, it's all right.